Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I saw the registration list was huge, and I see people joining in from all parts of the world. I'm joining from my home office here in London. It's a overcast day, which is not bad after a hot week. Uh, Getting started with this, right? The topic today is something that I'm sure each of you is hearing a lot about these days. We are all burdened with so much of information and discussion around AI. However, it is something we simply cannot ignore. Through this webinar today, me and my colleagues from Everest Group, we hope to be able to cut some of the noise from the facts and bring some clarity on why we are focusing on AI, why now, what is the current state of adoption in the global business services and GCCs, and what should you do to succeed in this journey? The playbook is still shaping up. There is no perfect way. So we would love if some of you ask questions and share your experiences in comments. And towards the end, we'll do a little bit of crystal ball gazing, to look at what lies ahead. With that, let me flip to the next slide, right? Uh, while AI is the central focus of the discussion today, it is not the only thing which is occupying leaders' mental, bandwidth. There is a lot going on, and as my colleague and friend who drafted this slide says, "What a time to be alive!" We, as analysts, and then the clients we serve, business leaders, are continuously bombarded with a series of disruptions. And many of clients, some of them I see are joining today, in smaller groups, do acknowledge that they would be happy dealing with one or two in a span of time. But you are dealing with everything. What to do? You have to deal with the cards we are dealt. So AI should not be considered as the only disruption. It is important, as you look at this, you do consider other disruptions and their impact on your company's strategy and objectives. And how does this fit into your strategy right now? So as we move on, right, let me set some foundation, looking at what the GBS model is, where it is in its evolution, and why AI becomes important, right? So as we flip to the next slide, we start looking at a little bit of oversimplified view, to be honest, of what has been a 3+ decade journey of the GBS model. And there has been tremendous progress, right? I have said this many times for those who have heard me speak at conferences, but I remember the picture I saw uh, when among the first GCCs, or at that time it was simply called a captive, was being set up in India. And then some of the technology infrastructure was brought on a bullock cart. Fast forward to today, the role GBS play, we are kind of, uh, uh, looking at a very modern value centric approach. But the model has made a big shift, moving from cost efficiency centers to focusing on customer centricity, whether these are internal customers in B2B construct or external end customers of the company. For mature GCCs, it is a value first play with customers at the middle. The focus on labor arbitrage has not completely gone away, to be clear. Cost still remains important. However, the focus on business services is how do we enable seamless interactions, and additional integration with tech is important. That is where, from a limited use of technology, we are talking about complete digital enablement. In fact, in the last 5 years since COVID, we have tracked about 1,500 new GBS GCC setups. More than 2/3 of them have digital capabilities as part of the core scope, along with business services. And the focus has shifted, the mindset has shifted, where GBS are talking not just about operational efficiency, but are we creating the real business impact? Are we making a change? So why AI? As some of you who hear our broader messaging on AI, we believe this is one in a lifetime inflection point for the industry. As we move on to the next slide, we are looking at an inflection point where organizations have an option to either grow, evolve, or reinvent. Doing nothing is not an option. Evolution done in a planned manner will create incremental value. If you do not do it properly, there is definitely an existential, question. Uh, However, there's an opportunity to reinvent through real AI integration, reshape the way you operate, the way you think about customers, the way you look at talent, and how does that help reinvent the organization? And that is what we want to unpack further during the course of the discussion today. As we move on, before we deep dive into the topic of AI in GBS, I want to take a minute, uh, just talk about something which is really close to my heart, a very special initiative for Everest Group over the last few years. Those who have been our clients and worked with us regularly for the past several years know we love bringing our clients together. We believe Everest Group analysts and our research is just one component in the entire value that we provide for our customers. What is equally important is how we have been able to bring our clients together to facilitate peer-to-peer networking, some real honest interactions and problem solving, and even sometimes, just relating to each other's problems. So last year we launched Engage with a lot of pride and received fundamental, kind of phenomenal feedback. We are back in Dallas in about 3 weeks from now, or less than 3 weeks. And between September 8 to 10, we are bringing together our clients across global business services, sourcing, vendor management, and customer experience and other teams. So if you're not already registered, do check out details, reach out to us, talk to your Everest Group contact, and find out more about it. Uh, Me and my team will be there, but so will be a lot of other Everest Group colleagues. Check out the website. We have a great set of companies and leading practitioners attending. So do check out the agenda and reach out to us if you have any questions. Now, with that invite, let me flip this to my colleague Shivi. And Shivi, you have been tracking the GBS GCC market very closely, particularly what is actually happening in AI. How much of this is buzz versus reality? So please do enlighten us.
Yeah, Rohit. Let me start with the big picture here. So, we have been talking to the market, the enterprises, the GBS leaders to understand what their key priorities are for this year. And generative AI, it has emerged as the top priority when it comes to IT spend. Just last year, it was cloud that was leading the space, but now generative AI, that once held third position, has now leapfrogged to the first position. So, couple of more interesting insights here. What we also found is that 50% of the enterprises, they're asking their suppliers to provide them with solutions that are AI embedded. So what this tells us here is that AI is not just an afterthought. Companies are strategically deploying it to make it the heart of their enterprise IT strategy. What we also see is that close to 47% of the enterprise, they are now choosing to upskill their existing talent with AI capabilities. So the focus is not when it comes to building an AI dedicated talent pipeline. The focus is not just limited to hiring new AI only talent, but it is also having emphasis on making your entire workforce AI ready. So that brings us to a very important question. What are the drivers? What is causing the surge in the adoption of AI? So let us hear this from the room. AI could mean different things for different enterprises. For some, it may be about operational efficiencies. For others, it can be about improving their customer experience, transforming the business model. This is where the it plays and takes on a more of a strategic role. It can also be go to market, having improvement in governance and compliance. So, would love to hear from the room. What are the top drivers for you when it comes to the adoption of AI?
And Shivi, as we wait to close the poll, uh, just looking into your crystal ball, what do you think? Or actually, I see the results have been published. So
Yeah.
how do you relate to these results, Shivi?
So what we're seeing from the audience, this mirrors what we have been also seeing on ground, and what the our survey findings or our discussion with the global leaders have been telling us. So the message here is consistent. It's loud and clear. AI is not optional anymore. It's game changer when it comes to GBS GCCs. The top three drivers. These very closely tie up to also what we have been seeing from the audience. 96% are using AI to improve their efficiency and optimizing processes. Classic AI value there, just classic GBS value there, just being powered by new AI tools. We also see 93% of organization leveraging it to improve customer experience. Think of hyper personalization, chat box, knowledge assistance. Uh, then we also have enterprises, 85% of enterprises using AI to automate routine tasks, essentially freeing up their resources for more high value strategic work. Uh, 81% are also using AI as their co pilot. 63 are using it to enhance their data and analytics capabilities. We also see some traction when it comes to uh, product design and innovation. So uh, there's a shift that's been happening. So AI is not only used to drive efficiency or optimize processes, it's also being used, or it's also playing a role when it comes to when it comes to the strategy or transformation side of the enterprise, be it product design, innovation, and transformation. So we have talked about the what's causing the surge in AI adoption. Let's also unpack how the adoption curve looks like this year versus what we have been seeing a year ago. So what we have here is that in 2023 to 2024, 80% of the enterprise, they were either in the bystander mode or they were just exploring. So it was all about 2023 was all about testing the waters, experimenting, finding, identifying the potential use case, gathering data on what can be done, where can AI be adopted. In 2024 to 2025, which is now, we see a clear transition. There's a clear shift here, with more than 70% of the enterprise playing an active role across the AI initiative lifecycle. So already 50% of the enterprise, they have started experimenting and deploying the use case when it comes to AI. 11% of them are also planning to go into production. So we see there's a clear shift from AI being just being in the bystander mode to getting to the execution side of things. When we talk about scaled maturity, scaled adoption, then it's still limited. Uh, this is the 2025 is a year where we'll see how enterprises are planning to scale it. There have not been cases where generative AI is business as usual, but while the direction there's some distance to cover, but the direction here is absolutely clear. If we move to the next slide, we have talked about AI, we have talked about the adoption curve, but what we also would want to talk about is the impact here. So, which are the key areas or the key functions in your organizations wherein you see AI having the greatest impact? Let's do a quick poll here.
And again, Shivi, what do you expect to see? Let's see. Uh, what would you
Rohit,
expect based on your, yeah, observations?
yes. I would expect most of the result to lean in towards IT, uh, given high volume work. The ROI is clear in this case. So IT is one area where expect to see most of the traction. What would be interesting to see is how is industry specific operations shaping up. So those two areas.
Got it. So let's see the results. As we publish the results. Uh, Should we bang on? Not at all surprised. IT and customer support seeing more than 60%, followed by finance
Yeah.
and then HR, and then some of the other areas. So, Shivi, again, you and team did some recent research, which was further refreshed, through ongoing work with clients. So, talk us through, the data you have on the slide, uh, and then probably a little bit about reasons why we see more activity in some areas and little in others.
Right. So while there's no shortage of use case when it comes to the adoption of AI, the impact that we have been seeing across function, it has been uneven. So we have few functions, the well-established one, your IT, your data analytics, where the adoption has been high. So here, these are the two key areas where the GBS organization, they have moved beyond exploring. They have also started piloting and deploying some real life use cases. Uh, Customer service is again another big winner. Uh, we see a lot of AI powered chatbots, knowledge assistants. They are already operational across GBS centers. So, no surprises there. Functions like finance and accounting, sales and marketing, while they lag behind, are IT and data analytics, but we also see there's an intent to explore. So likely when we study the market again in some time, this may change. On the contrary, HR, procurement, supply chain, they're still getting up to speed. There is the intent there, but they lag behind when it comes to the actual execution side of things. What we have here, the picture is very clear. The adoption is there. It's mostly for areas where the ROI is clear or where it's easy to scale the use cases. Once the organizations are able to achieve that, it's then that they are moving to more industry specific operations. Let's also zoom out and see how we're doing when it comes to industry-wide adoption. So we have similar story like the functions, the adoption is there, but it's uneven across industries. BFSI is a clear leader here. We have top use cases embedded in financial analysis, enhancement of customer service, also a lot of use cases emerging in fraud detection. Uh, HLS is it trails closely behind BFSI, again, high adoption level. Most of the use cases are focused around patient data management, having AI assisted diagnostics, and also some bit on the knowledge management. Retail CPG, again, a mature and advanced industry. Most of the AI cases that we are seeing are targeting hyper personalization, having those product recommendation, customer supports. We, on the contrary, we have manufacturing and media and telecom. They've also started taking smaller steps. Manufacturing, we see focus on predictive maintenance and simulation, while media and telecom, most of this is centered around having AI enabled virtual assistants and network optimization. So while
So,
what we
If
can
I may,
see
yeah,
here,
go on, Shivi.
uh,
yeah.
actually, allow
So I
me,
was saying,
Shivi, to. Hey, sorry. Why don't you finish your thought, Shivi?
So I was saying, as we can see, while the adoption across industry, it has been even. The North Star here is quite well established. Productivity and enhancing the customer or user experience is the top priorities for organizations and enterprises. What we also see is an enhanced focus on uh, having hybrid workflows that are wherein we see AI augmenting human and not replacing human. And then again, what we also see is a very targeted focus on uh, scaling domain specific use cases where the ROI is clear.
Yeah. And see what I'm intrigued by is of course, the banking, financial services, the healthcare, life sciences industries, which do a lot. Uh, Clearly, a lot of learnings. And again, I see you have linked another report that was published. So encourage everybody who's interested in more use cases to explore additional research. But Anish, you probably were going to comment on this. But
Yeah.
manufacturing, media, telecom are areas that you track very closely, work with a lot of clients in that segment. Uh, Part of it, some industries have been slow to
Yeah.
transform in general. But why do you see a certain slowdown in adoption in some areas versus others?
Thanks, Rohit, for that question. Actually, I wanted to call that out on the slide. The reason we see some of the industries, specifically manufacturing and telecom, being slightly behind the rest of the stack is one, because of the cost pressures which these industries face is much higher than the rest of the industry. They are always stressed for maintaining some of the cost or margins with respect to their service delivery. Second reason is specifically for telecom, we see a lot of legacy systems which are there within telecom, which is difficult to change. And because of that, the adoption of some of the latest and greatest technology, including AI, becomes slow because you have to be cautious of the fundamentals which you are developing as part of your long-term transformation plan to be stabilized before you apply emerging tech over that. So that is few reasons why we see manufacturing and specifically telecom being slightly behind. Another interesting thing which I wanted to call out on this slide was we see BFSI and HLS being high in adoption level. This is despite these two industries are heavily regulated as well. So certainly these industries have found out a way to work through that, because one of the important aspects which we hear as a challenge, and we'll deep dive further when we come to that, is the regulatory aspects around AI. Because again, the data can go into areas, sorry, confidential data can go into areas which you do not want to, right? So the way you box your system in an enterprise, let's say ecosystem, or let's say enterprise boundary, is certainly important. And I feel that BFSI and HLS industries are certainly following some of those guardrails to achieve adoption levels within AI.
Got it. So that's very fascinating, Anish. Thanks for the added context. I'm addressing another couple of questions, in the chat. So one of the questions is, how are organizations using the GBS as a testing proving ground for AI automation, and then to extend to broader organization? A highly relevant question, and we have seen a lot of activity around this. Just to share from my point of view, and then probably I'll request my colleagues to add on. For companies with established GBS GCC model, definitely, but even the new ones are starting to integrate technology and operations together, so are quick to experiment. The reasons why they want to use GBS is uh, there's a true assimilation of various operations, corporate functions, technology, digital capabilities, the way these organizations are built. Particularly what we are seeing the latest version of the GCC model in India, there is a lot of, focus on having the right testing ground for other reasons, right? Ability to find the new talent, technology savvy talent. Definitely the cost comes into play. Ability to hire and build those teams at lower cost as compared to HQ geographies. And also a lot of connection to the core area of work, whether we are talking about business process services, corporate functions, other operations, ability to find use cases or even technology, as you saw on the previous slide. Shivi spoke about a greater adoption in IT. So there are use cases, there is the right talent, there is the right ability to create collaboration in co-located capabilities and at costs which are favorable to experiment. So we are seeing do that. In fact, we have detailed case studies. So do reach out to us if you're interested of what companies are doing through GCCs in that area. One of the areas, Anish, where I might request you to chime in is Everest Group has been a strategic partner with NASSCOM's India GCC annual event for the longest time. All my 12 years at Everest and even before that. And one of the things we do is we facilitate the annual GCC awards. And Anish, I know you were part of that assessment very closely this year, and looking into some of the aspects of how companies are how GCCs are creating global playbook for AI. So anything you want to share on that?
Yeah, so one thing which I can definitely share is again, it relates back to the first question, right? How are GCCs being leveraged in this journey? When we look at the life cycle, right? So Rohit, when we look at the life cycle of any idea, any product deployment, or let's say any solution deployment, the phase where GCCs are certainly getting involved is idea generation and concept testing. Again, you mentioned only the reasons that they own large part of the processes in terms of delivery. So they know exactly the areas where some of these solutions can be deployed or can be used for the betterment in terms of operational or service excellence, right? So these are the two stages where they are largely developed. Then comes the detailed design and development. That is where the development model is there, because again, GCCs can support enterprise, but enterprise or specifically the business functions do want to have a say that the way you want to develop the solutions and then deploy in the broader enterprise context as well. And then the scaling up cannot be done only by GBS, because at the end GBS is supporting various functional towers within the enterprise, and that's where again the lead which the end up GBS takes is slightly lower as compared to the first two phases. So this is what we saw across some of the interesting case studies also which were submitted. But definitely GBS has a lot more role to play in terms of idea generation and concept testing to prove that there are real high impact use cases which can be taken up for mass deployment within the enterprise.
Got it. So we'll keep moving. I'm aware that there is a long list of questions that is kind of coming in. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. We will try to cover some of the questions in the next half an hour. But be assured, if you're not able to get to your question, we will follow up with you offline. We'll get to you. Uh, one offer I want to call out for everyone is that Everest Group has a very extensive body of research related to AI in global business services and broader business services and IT and then other associated areas. Do tap into that library. Uh, we are offering one of the reports free to download, even if you're not a member of Everest Group or that particular research programs. This is one of the best received research in the recent weeks. So do take an opportunity to tap into it. Uh, Moving on, right? Uh, as we start looking at the role of GBS, right? And what should you do as a GBS leader? Let me flip on and bring up some data from our research. When we surveyed hundreds of GBS organization and we asked them, what is your challenge in scaling some of these solutions? The biggest issue is not how or even what, it is why. If you look at the top, lack of clearly defined business case, outcome investment ROI is a big cause. 75%, 3 in 4 GBS say they are still not clear that they know where tasks become better, where efficiency because but the cost of technology to the total cost of benefit in the long run, they are still not clear. And I've spent some time with leading, kind of executives at leading SIs and leading outsourcing companies who are investing billions in AI, and AI does not come cheap. So it is not something for everything. Another issue, which I was looking at one of the questions, somebody asked, banking financial services sector, a lot of legacy systems, how does AI integrate? Exactly a problem. And that is where the scaled adoption in some areas becomes problem if it is done AI in isolation. So AI is another bullet, another arrow in the quiver of tools you have. But unless it fits into your broader enterprise strategy, there are problems. And then, of course, there are other problems regarding regulatory data concerns, resistance to change, etc. Now, why do we still feel GBS are best positioned to take this on? And we love our acronyms. Again, I can claim credit to this, but this is something my colleague came up with. He's really good at this stuff. But they said AI is not able to generate value very quickly, or we're not seeing that kind of ROI because there is a PTSD in the system. What is this PTSD? There is a huge process debt. Uh, According to Everest Group research about 18, 20 months ago, we surveyed 800 plus shared services, and 57%, that number I cannot forget, 57% said they have done poorly on standardizing processes. Then there is a technology debt. The systems are not aligned. We just saw in comments, I'm seeing a lot of comments around legacy systems. So there's a lot of technology debt, skills debt. Hand on heart, how many GBS leaders know that the talent they have is to execute tasks? The ability to work in a true human plus tech environment, the ability to adapt, keep learning, change, think from client centricity, think, rethink, reinvent. How much is that? So there's a bit of a skills gap. And the biggest problem, data debt. AI, you put AI on top of something, it amplifies what you put it on top of. So, if you're going to put it on misaligned data, it is going to give you poor answers, right? I really have to be mindful about the examples I use, the language barriers there, but you know what I mean, where I'm getting with this, right? This is the problem and the opportunity for GBS. There is a runway. All these problems are slowing it down. AI cannot progress too fast to create a disruption. However, it is imperative that this will change the way services are delivered. GBS, while having a broader portfolio, are at the center of an organization's process delivery. They are the custodians of the process in a manner of speaking. And as you do that, having a process first approach to sustainable and scalable AI is key. And that is where we believe there's a lot of potential in how GBS organizations can go ahead and scale this. Uh, Anish, you have been working with many of our clients on how can they actually implement this. So what is your, again, I know it's hard to, you call it roadmap, but the roadmap is pretty extensive. But what is your key guidance that you want to share today with our listeners on how can they think about this in their organizational context?
Yeah, sure, Rohit. You're right. I mean, the roadmap is pretty extensive. What we are trying to provoke is the fundamental thinking on how to approach AI, right? I mean, AI or AI related solutions within your broader gambit of services delivery as well. Now, as you rightly mentioned, the generative AI potential is massive. Scaling adoption is not without hurdles. However, GBS can lead in addressing these systematically, right? They are best positions as custodians of standardization and enablers of sustainable business value, which they have already proved over a decade the way they deliver those services. But now, as you mentioned, AI is disrupting that space as well. And given that inflection point, GBS leaders should think about, when they think about AI, it really boils down to three critical questions, right? The first one being, how should I explore AI? Think this about aligning with the enterprise priority and framing the why now for yourselves, right? Why do you want to do it now? How does that align with your enterprise priorities? The second pertinent question is, which AI solution should I explore, right? There is always a question of Do I build? Do I buy? What is the best path for me? Again, all of that depends on the use case which you are trying to pitch for and how that aligns with your maturity and enterprise context as well. And we'll speak about all of these in detail in next few slides as well, as we deal as we try and put some framework or thought around how can one prioritize the decision making, right? The third and the most important one is how can I accelerate the ROI out of this? Now, think this about as prioritizing high impact, quick wins while laying the foundation for long term scaling. Again, not everything will have a quick ROI, not everything can have a long term ROI. There has to be a balance the way you choose your use cases so that you are able to prove to the enterprise that there's a possibility and you are getting the right ROI across some of the use cases which you are using, right? Now let me get into some of the details, right? The first one is the perception gap itself, right? The important nuance which a GBS leader or a GBS organization should think is va- how valuable it is to align what the enterprise CXO sees as valuable. So you might think that I should go ahead and automate everything, or I should deploy AI across all the processes which I have, right? But that might not be the way your enterprise sees value in. One of the reason, and we want to highlight is this is a survey which we carried out earlier this year, which highlights the perception difference which the enterprise has of the GBS versus what the GBS think it is delivering to the enterprise. And you will notice the top two differences around the strategic alignment and role, which is around the value proposition which the GBS is offering to the enterprise. And the second one is around the innovation and capability enablement. You might think that you're adding a lot of value by doing digital transformation, but that is not fetching the right ROI for the organization. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say if a simple task can be automated, versus it you can use an agentic AI as well. But the business case for using agentic AI is not what you think is the right value for the enterprise, right? Because the enterprise might think the investment is much higher, but the return is much lower. While you might think, hey, I'm deploying agentic AI, which is an advanced solution. Why don't I just go ahead and deploy agentic AI and everything, right? So you need to be right in choosing the right solution, aligning with your enterprise priorities, right? So this is what I wanted to call out that this is what will help you build confidence in solving the problem which is essential and which can deliver high value and create the right perception of the GBS organization as well.
So, Anish, if you go on the previous page, I personally found this very fascinating. And again, while this was a relatively high level assessment to start with, the hours we have spent with execs, the heads of GBS and their CXO, stakeholders, uncovering what we learned is just fascinating, because there is no single right or wrong, but the degree of alignment and misalignment, as you highlighted. I think 2 points I'll highlight is one with regards to AI, applying it on the right areas which solve business problems versus areas that create a lot of excitement initially because it appears to be a good area to be applying it. But if that's not a business problem, then there's a gap, right? We have been publishing thought leadership around what CFOs think about GBS and then how CIOs are aligning with GBS. This survey also showed some interesting results. The blue line that you see currently is an aggregate of all CXO inputs. When we looked at it in a deeper manner, the CFOs have a greater gap with the GBS leaders as compared to CIOs. So going back, the technology leverage as it continues to rise, there is more alignment, and the CFOs are kind of probably not fully aligned in some areas. So another area is where the focus on the broader enterprise transformation versus what AI can deliver in terms of takeout of the cost. There is sometimes a gap. What I found very fascinating, and I want to connect it to AI angle, Anish, is talent and organization. Very few CXOs agreed that GBS is the breeding ground of global talent. I found it to be very contradictory to everything just the sentiment that we pick up. But as we went deep into it, So I was like, yeah, it's a great talent hub for a particular type of talent. But are you becoming the breeding ground for the talent I need in HQ at the top levels in company? There was a disconnect. So there were some very profound conversations that you know uh, were enabled. So again, I know it's probably not in here, but anybody who's interested in taking this assessment in your organization, we have a light version of this available to all. Of course, the full version is available for our members. But again, I'm going to be presenting it actually at Dallas Engage conference as well. So Anish, sorry for interrupting your flow, but I did want to come in. Back to you.
Hey, thanks, Rohit, for that. No, that's really right the way you added it. The fundamental fact is GBS needs to be aligned with the enterprise priorities. The second question which we are taking up, which a GBS leader or GBS organizations needs to solve for is, or they face a challenge is whether you should build, buy, or take a hybrid approach, right? And honestly, the right answer depends entirely on the enterprise context, your capability, and your business case. When we work with certain organizations to solve this problem, we see varied views from different functional leaders. But at the end, there has to be a logical approach of the choice whether you want to build for your strategic imperative or from a long-term IP standpoint versus you want to accelerate time to market and then buy, right? So just discussing what we have on the slide is on the left side, you'll see that we have a build approach where you can use developer tools and framework, the OpenAI ecosystem, which gives enterprises unparalleled customization and control. But it's only ideal if you have a strong in-house AI talent or partners who can co-develop with you, right? Otherwise, the trade-off is time and complexity. It will certainly take you longer, and but the integration would be seamless and highly tailored. So let's say if you have a strategic differentiator, a process is highly unique, that is where you would want to build a solution rather than buying. One of the examples which comes to my mind is we were discussing with one of the global banks, and the GBS organization wanted to build a AI-powered compliance engine. The reason is they felt that the control and integration benefits of build will far outweigh the complexity because the regulatory frameworks which they have in multiple jurisdictions is much higher and complex than just buying and deploying the solution, right? In the middle, you'll see that there are builder platforms such as Salesforce, Agentforce, UiPath, or SAP. Now, these can provide you drag and drop capabilities, which gives you much faster way to design and deploy. And there is a balance between the speed with a fair degree of customization, right? Making a kind of a sweet spot for organizations that have specific requirement but lack AI engineering capacity as of now. Again, everyone wants to build that AI capacity internally, but then there is a trade-off on what talent you are able to upskill versus get from the market, right? Uh, Again, the use cases can be basically employ onboarding chatbots or automating HR ticket solution. Some of these we are seeing that there are ready-made solutions coming up in the market as well, right? Finally, on the right-hand side, you'll see that there are pre-built solutions which are available from certain providers. Now, these are plug and play, ready-to-use solutions. Certainly helps you in quick deployment, speed to value or time to market is much higher and relatively low upfront investment. But you can expect that the customization might be lower, right? So they are best suited where things are already standardized. There are repeatable tasks where cost and efficiency matters. That is where you can have these kind of solutions deployed. Let's say, for example, an area which is IT service management agent, where the it's a simple updating the ticket status updates. These might be areas where it might be helpful, right? Again, the net the idea or the conclusion is it's important to note that it's not a binary decision. Many organizations can use a mix of the spectrum, building areas where you have strategic differentiators, while buying in areas where speed and cost matters the most, right? Again, it's all about the right choice for the enterprise at the right point of time. Okay, moving on, we wanted to bust some myths around AI. Again, within a year, everyone might have heard multiple terms around AI, right? First AI, then we heard about Gen AI, then we heard about agentic AI. There are multiple different terminologies. So let's clear up some few misconceptions, right? For instance, agentic AI is not the same as AI agent. It's totally different, right? AI agent is basically advanced form of, let's say, automation, where the workflow is maybe not so much standard as in case of automation, but then it's not as goal oriented as a agentic AI bot. So again, agentic AI and AI agents are different. You need to choose which one to deploy within the right use case. Similarly, agentic workflow is not equal to agentic plus existing process. It's totally different. Right? It's goal oriented. Again, it's about having that digital human in place instead of a human intervened automated process. Right. When you think about AI, it's not just deploying solution across the board. Think about the ROI as well. The conversation for about AI is not for AI's sake. It's all about ROI. Now, to navigate this, GBS organizations need a robust prioritization framework. That is where you can determine what the true battle which you want to pick and where the most ROI or the higher ROI lie for you, right? Uh, with that, we wanted to showcase a framework which we typically use or support our clients with in order to prioritize and identify potential quick wins. You will see that on the x-axis, the framework identifies the adoption ease, which is again the measure of roadblock which is there when you apply AI to some of the use cases, right? Let's say in terms of data availability, data standardization, data lake which is there, the regulatory constraints which is there, the criticality of the use case, right? The failure or the deployment success criticality which is there. On the y-axis, you'll see the potential. So basically measures to applying the AI solution. Now that means that what is the opportunity size, what is the process scope and complexity, what is the growth potential across that area. Now again, that means that are you able to scale that across the enterprise or not, right? So let's say you'll have certain areas which are on the top right where you can accelerate because the opportunity size is high, adoption ease is also high. Areas where adoption is high but the potential is low, that is where maybe you can pick and choose or educate yourself which ones to pick from. Areas on the left top where the potential is high but the adoption is slightly difficult right now, there you need to critically evaluate again which ones to pick because there is a good ROI business case, but then there is a difficulty or a challenge as well in implementing that. And bottom right is certainly where you can wait and watch because right now that's not the big focus area for everyone.
Anish, I have a question. So this framework is really helpful, but you know, do you have some examples of how this framework has been put into action?
Let me
Perfect.
actually share some of those examples, right? We again we do it by different functional areas. What we have as illustration is across certain workplace services. So you will notice that on the accelerate bucket, we see strong adoption in areas such as report generation, real-time translation, because these are high impact and relatively easy to scale as well, right? Once you are able to deploy your AI solution in these cases, these can be scaled across the enterprise, which again leads to a higher opportunity size as well. Now, on the other hand, areas like AR, VR, field support, risk-based authentication may sit in the evaluate or the wait case or the wait quadrant because adoption barriers are currently high and you'd want to see how that spans out or however you are able to overcome some of those barriers to achieve the price which is associated with that use case, right? Now, certainly this there is no uh, let's say one size fit answer. This is just a more of an industry view which we wanted to showcase as an illustration. Again, it depends on your context, the way you are delivering services, the quantum of services which you are delivering within each of the process, sub-process, or use case. This might vary. And again, that's where the contextualization is important with respect to your enterprise. What we are showcasing is a slightly industry view across workplace services. Rohit, does it answer your question or is there any follow-up as well?
No, it does. I also think that beyond a point, while what you said earlier, it's important to correlate. For example, and I could see in some of the chat, somebody actually asked, are there tools regarding email summarizing, meeting summarization, meeting scheduling? So while some of these are really good use cases, then you start to think the build versus buy, how much to invest, where to scale. So, what is the big business priority? Where are you seeing inefficiency? Where are you seeing problems? Where you see potential revenue upside for the company? And then all of that need to be taken into consideration in deciding what becomes a priority, what becomes just part of hygiene of how we operate going forward. So, Anish, I love this framework. And while there is a lot on this slide for those who are seeing it for the first time, but we have again a lot more examples. We have a lot more evaluations, very particular to what is happening in finance and accounting, what is happening in HR, what is happening in supply chain, etc., etc. Right. So do reach out to your Everest Group contacts or this team if you need more intel on that. But it's important to contextualize.
Uh, Again, I know we are slightly on top of the hour as well, so probably I'll cover a few of the things quickly. Again, I guess we also saw in the chat, one of the question is, how can GBS scale the impact, right? I'll put it in one simple line is it's all about intention. Uh, you have to lead with the right intent, which means that you have to create a holistic vision that brings together people, process, and technology. Success requires fusion between the team's co-owning initiative, clear success metrics, and strong programmatic change management as well, because this won't be an easy task to deploy. There might be certain implication in terms of the way you see your talent evolving, the way you see your processes evolving, and there will be a lot of change management will be required. But then this is the time where one has to take a leap of faith and start doing this thing if you don't want to be left behind in this race. Again, just wanted to call out that key message on the slide. I know there's again enough content, probably for offline read when our audience is able to download this document as well. Rohit, this brings us to the last section of our webinar as well, which is the crystal ball gazing or what lies ahead. While I can cover some of it in case you want to add, please do so. Again, we talked about AI, we talked about generative AI, we touched upon the agentic AI or AI agents as well. I just wanted to look a little further ahead. And what we call in Everest Group is systems of execution. This represents the next evolution in the enterprise AI architecture. So, unlike, let's say, the systems of record, which captures information, unlike systems of engagement, which connects people, systems of execution operationalize the agentic intelligence. Right now, certainly one may argue that agentic AI is still in its infancy. Certainly, yes, there is some time till we reach to the full potential, but SOE or systems of execution will really shape how the enterprise act and adapt and deliver value for this, right? Again, systems of execution enable automated, goal aligned, and self learning execution for enterprise decision making. So let's say if I just need to ask one of the agent, hey, can you book a ticket for me, or I'm planning a US trip. Can you schedule? Can you book tickets for me? Can you schedule meetings with XYZ clients and so on and so forth? Now, this system of execution will take that input, will go to your respective systems, take the respective action, and come back to you and schedule all of those in your calendars. Will book your tickets and send you a copy of your tickets and all of those. Right. So it's a digital Alexa, I would say, where you can just place certain requests and the outcome will be more oriented towards the goal which you wanted to achieve.
Yeah, so Nish, just to wrap this up, net, uh, how AI moves, from a tool to being a teammate. We've been talking about human plus tech workforce, but I think we are at the brink of making that a reality. Now, will that completely wipe a large need for human workforce? Honestly, I'm not a believer in those theories. I think many things are evolving, so there is always need for good human talent. uh, AI governance becomes equally important, like human, workforce governance. Uh, it kind of, as you were saying, it starts to orchestrate workflows, not just, tasks, but entire workflows. There is more AI-powered devices, changing how customer experiences management is managed. A lot of, not saying sci-fi stuff, but generally becomes more reality. And do not forget, process-centric AI is what we believe the sustainable form of AI implementation. And then that's where it all will come back. I know we took a bunch of questions in the middle, and we may not be able to get through all the questions. My twofold request before we get to a couple of questions. One, we will follow up if we did not get to your question, but please do reach out as well to us with your specific questions. There is a lot more research. It's hard to package everything within 1 hour. But let me try and address a series of questions, right? So there are a set of questions around very specific use cases around ROI. We are working actively with clients on ROI calculation methodologies, approaches, and benchmarks. So do reach out. We can talk more about that. There is focus on relooking at IT operating model. Yes, we have a point of view on that. I'll not pretend to be an SME, but one of my colleagues can cover it. Do reach out on that. The other question, Anish, probably I wanted to very quickly tackle is with all of this and then other market dynamics and tariff regime, do you see GBS spreading out, which is creating more localization and complications in AI? Or do you still see a, a trend of consolidation where more and more standardization, efficiency push, and an integrated value push is happening through GBS? Which side do you see the market trending with latest macroeconomic forces?
So that's a very interesting question, Rohit, right? I mean, again, it's a mixed bag where we have seen both the approaches working. Let's say if there are certain functions which are slightly more mature than others in the GBS, that is where they take a siloed approach wherein they're identifying certain use cases within those areas. Now, that can be any particular function, any particular subprocess, process, so on and so forth, right? Um, where the standardization or consolidation works is where the GBS has a higher ownership of that particular capability, and that capability is being deployed across multiple functions. Now, let's say, for example, it might be analytics, or let's say the report generation itself, right? Now, the report generation, if that is happening across multiple functions, and GBS has the authority over that capability, then certainly the consolidation or the standardization
Got
across
it.
multiple geographies and functions do help.
Got it. So we are almost out of time. Taking a few more seconds. Thanks all. A quick reminder: we are at Engage in Dallas, 8 to 10 September. So do check it out. And a reminder: I already see a long list of requests to download the report we have offered. So do not miss that chance. And remember, this is just a tip of our coverage in this area. So do reach out with your more specific questions. We are always here to help.